Welcome to the board meeting, Tuesday, May 22nd, Fargo Board of Education. I would like to call this meeting to order, and I would like for a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I move to approve the agenda with the addition of 5B under staff reports, communications awards. And the HR addendum.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to special recognition, Dr. Schatz and Laura Christensen, please.
Dr. Schatz and I have been talking all year about how we have such a wealth of staff and veteran staff here in Fargo schools. And it occurred to us as we're looking through the number of years we've had of loyal service to the students of Fargo schools that we should have a moment of appreciation, particularly for, we have 6 people in our district who have more than 40 years in Fargo Public Schools. So we're here to do a recognition, and maybe there'll be some speeches. We'll see.
Why don't all six of you stand up? Stan's congratulating me on my retirement, and 2 of these people, I did my practicum under Jack Disher, and David here was my middle school teacher, so. Okay, so we're really happy to recognize these people for their 40 years plus service in the Fargo Public Schools, and graciously they showed up here tonight for this recognition. So first we have Pat Healy. Pat is over at Discovery Middle School, has been there for many, many years. So Pat, congratulations. Second, we have Jack Disher, and not only has Jack been with us for over 40 years, but Jack, you also taught in Michigan, so didn't we talk, and it's over 50? 51 years that Jack has been a teacher, and so he's retiring this year, and he's been at Longfellow his entire career. And I did my practicum when I was a sophomore in college under Jack, so fabulous, so thank you, Jack. The next person we have is Marianne Dunay. Marianne has been at Discovery for many, many years, but Marianne, you started at Fargo North, did you not, or where was it?
I started at Fargo North and South teaching drivers there. One semester at South, one at North.
There you go, so
Back in the day.
back in the day, so you've been.
And then I also worked with Jack Disher after that
Yes, and worked with Jack, and so,
at Longfellow.
so way to go, Marianne, all these years, and so congratulations to you too. And then we have David Midgarden. David's at North High. David, you were at Ben Franklin many years ago, and you've been how many years at Fargo North?
I think 12.
12 years at North, but many of the years at Ben Franklin.
33.
33 years at Ben Franklin, and so congratulations, David. David's been a teacher of the year for us too before, and so way to go, Dave. Okay, and our other 2 gentlemen are both with our support staff, and so we've got 2 of them. Donald Grucella, he's at the warehouse, and Don has been with us for over 40 years in a lot of different capacities and all over the districts, right?
Says it all.
So, yeah, so when he and I chat, he fills me in on all the history of all the things that have gone on in our district, so.
Only some of it.
Only some of it. And again, he just congratulated me on my retirement. It's way to go, Don. But thank you for all your service. And then the last individual we have here is Alan Oshner, and Alan is at Lincoln, but you've been also in different places throughout the district? So how many different schools?
Started at Agassiz, then moved to Clara Barton, then Hawthorne, and Eagles. Well, it's been a few. I mean, I've missed
been a
one
few.
or two.
Yes.
One or two in there.
And if we're looking for somebody to be in the long-range facilities committee, you could certainly give them input on the facilities, right? All right. So thank you, Alan, also for your service. Also, what Laura and I did too was we are also recognizing other individuals across our district, 30 years, 20 years, and a certificate and a letter's going out, and I just got done signing all those, just like you. And so there was, and Brittany helped a lot too with this whole process. So again, it's the beginning of a new recognition program for our district, and so we're just very proud to be able to have you here for your extraordinary service to our district. So is there anybody who would like to say anything to the board or any comments?
40 years. It's a lifetime. And couldn't have made it without working here. All my friends. Lots had happened in 40 years. Thank you so much.
I'm prepared to speak, but I wanted to, it's been a long run, and I've enjoyed it, and I attribute that to the administration and the board, of course, but the administration that I've been under. They allowed me to go get loose with some control on me. I mean, who else has them rappelling off Ben Franklin's roof and eighth graders diving under the scuba diving from 1990 on? It's been a fun time. I even got some of our assistant superintendents off the catwalk at Discovery rappelling off. So I was pretty lucky to have people who were willing to let me go and do more for the kids. So I really appreciate that. I want to thank all of you, because that's what made this a good time. All right? Thank you.
My name is Jack Disher, and I have been teaching at Longfellow for 41 years. Prior to that, I was in Alpena, Michigan for 10 years, as Jeff had mentioned. And I think out of all the years that I taught, I figure that I tried to figure it out, that there were probably close to 9,000 to 9,500 students that I've had the chance to work with, which has really been pretty exciting. I will have to admit, I'm a Fargo boy. I went to Roosevelt, I went to Ben Franklin, Fargo Central, NDSU, and I got my master's degree at Michigan State University. And what's next for me? Ruth, my wife Ruth, and I are planning on doing a lot of traveling. Photography has really been pretty big in my life. And so we have some plans to do that, probably photographing in the Great Lakes area and several national parks. So thank you very much. It's been a privilege to serve in the Fargo Public Schools. Thank you.
I'm Dave Midgarden, and I've always felt grateful, fortunate just to have a job. And it's one of the reasons I've stuck with this so long. I think it's also, I'm mindful of the fact that I wouldn't be working as long as I have if it hadn't been for Cynthia Selland, a name that some of you will recall. Fondly, I hope she was a legendary teacher. This is a very meaningful and challenging kind of work to do, and I think that makes it worthwhile. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Fargo School District for the opportunity to be a teacher. I was lucky enough to find my passion in teaching. It's a job that I went to every day, loved absolutely every minute of it. Going along with that is the coaching. I've coached for 40 years as well, not just one sport, several sports, 3 sports. So I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to, I can't believe it's been 40 years. I feel like I'm only 40 years old at times, and I still act like I'm 40 years old. But I plan on doing some traveling, camping. My passion is camping during the summer, and with hopes of someday working for national parks or volunteering with national parks or Minnesota State Parks. So that's it.
All right, you have no choice. You have to say a couple words.
Okay. Just a couple, yeah. Well, I didn't know that a little speech would be in order, but I'd like to thank everyone. It's been a very interesting experience, and I don't know, I don't really look at it as a job anymore. I enjoy it. Thank you very much. And again, thank you.
Okay, and I told them reserved seating got them a way out of here if they wanted to. So if there's Yeah, there you go, yeah. And so I don't know if any board members have any comments, or Rebecca, I'll turn it back over to you.
Anyone like to share? Christy?
My kids at Discovery have had Mr. Healy and Miss Dene for some different classes, and I know that they both appreciated it very much. My son the other day said, "Mom, Mr. Healy was cleaning cupboards, and boy, he's got a lot of stuff to take after all those years." So I commend you, and I don't know what you'll do with it all, but you've been a great teacher, I know, for White, and he's really appreciated it. And Sydney, Miss Dene, appreciated you when you were coaching and such, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you all. You're surely an example of what helps make Fargo Public Schools great. Definitely appreciate it. We will. Okay, we're going to move on to our recognition of audience for the evening. And we have, there are 4 individuals that have signed up to address us this evening, so welcome and thank you for doing that. At this time, the board will hear comments from the public. We ask that each speaker who has signed up to address the board state their name and address for the record. We would also ask that the speakers refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about a specific employee by name. The board is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond or debate issues in this forum. Should you desire a written response to a specific question, you may request it. This evening, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. And Samantha has signed up first.
Hello, my name is Samantha Stewart. I spoke at the last board meeting in regards to Level D. Shortly after that meeting, I was approached by many parents that were asking me, what are we going to do? And I and 2 other parents wanted to get the parent feedback on the situation. We wanted to know what other parents thought. We decided we would form a Facebook group that would be a place for us to discuss the issues and concerns and make a concise plan on how we wanted to move forward to assist the schools and our children through the process. In 3 days, we had 170 people add themselves to that group. Today, we have just short of 200 people that are willing to stay up to date on this topic, regularly give responsive feedback, and want their voices to be heard. And that's in just 2 weeks. The number is growing by the day. Every day, we approve more members that are interested and have input on this topic. I think that that is a true testament to the magnitude of this issue. I have worked on many advocacy projects and have learned many things about parents with children with special needs. We are knowledgeable. We do our research. We fight for what we need. We know our rights for our children and for ourselves because we are forced to. And we do not back down when we feel those rights are being infringed upon. We are a force that should be used for the betterment of our children and the schools, not an afterthought. We have spent years absorbing information from our therapists and our doctors and our professionals, training ourselves in how to work best with our own children. We want a seat at the table. We want to be able to share our experiences and help with the process. Please consider having as much parent involvement as possible. It really will ensure the best possible results for our children and for the whole school district. We know that something needs to be done. However, we will not settle for just anything and call it law or Level D. It must be within our rights, well thought out, planned and perfected, data-driven, and professionally staffed and trained. LRED is not a location, but access to appropriate services for the child. Services. The law does not state that LRED has to be in a separate setting at all. The issue is much larger than having an appropriate building. The current pilot program, as the schools are calling it, has been testified to as being inadequate and detrimental to our children. I have spoken with both parents and teachers in this program currently, and it is universal. It is not working. Everyone is concerned about what is happening here, and I think it's time that we have a commitment that Agassiz will not be utilized for this program starting in the fall, with or without the building remodels. There should be no program until there's a task force and set plans into place on how this is actually going to work. There needs to be reporting guidelines and accountability for staff. There needs to be thorough data taken and evaluated appropriately. This all takes time. We do not build a plane in the air with our children. You must shut this down. Take your time and start over with more resources and input brought to the table. We need better for our children. Please hear us. We need your help to ensure our children's safety and well-being. Please rescind your yes vote and uphold your commitment to take the time and find a better solution for our district and families. We asked today of our Facebook group that the people who are going to come wear blue. And some were able to wear blue and some were not, but a lot of us are here today. And it means a lot to us that you hear us and you listen to us and you ask for our input. We want to give it. We want to make it successful. So we're here asking to please uphold your commitment to slow it down and really just rescind it and start over. Let us help. Thank you.
Molly?
Hello, I'm Molly Johnson. I acknowledge this letter was sent to all board members previously. Thank you to those who responded. I would like now to publicly address my concerns. I am a proud Longfellow, Ben Franklin, and Fargo North graduate. A big reason for my husband and I moving back to Fargo was to give our children a strong public school education, which I knew we would find in the FPS system. I have always applauded Fargo Public Schools for their initiative, forward thinking, and putting children first. As a former elementary teacher in central Minnesota, I witnessed the increase in behavioral issues in the classroom. I had back-to-back years teaching kindergarten and first grade, where I had students with severe behavioral challenges. This consisted of chairs and other objects thrown, severe meltdowns, and extreme emotional outbursts. I, as a classroom teacher, was not equipped, trained, or able to handle these situations and removed 24 other students from my classroom on a frequent basis. This created a domino effect in negative behaviors displayed by other students. I currently have one child attending Washington Elementary and will have 2 more there in coming years. I have seen firsthand the struggles that are occurring in classrooms and hallways. Entire classrooms of students are being removed from their room, property is being damaged, law enforcement is being called, lockdowns are occurring, and staff are being injured, are frustrated, and burnt out. This is not what is best for all students. This debate has unfortunately turned negative in the media. This is not student versus student, family versus family, parent versus administration, or teachers versus administration. This is about giving the best educational setting for all children, giving all students an opportunity to flourish in an environment with the resources, highly trained teachers, and staff they need and should receive. My assumption is that all board members have witnessed the behavioral challenges that are being described. If you have not, I would strongly urge you to step into a classroom where these are occurring. It is scary and upsetting for all involved. It is not teaching compassion and empathy for fellow students. It is creating a deeper divide between these students. The goal of FPS is to educate and empower all students to succeed. Let's give all these students that chance. Give them the chance to use the best resources, staff, and environment, and then hopefully mainstream back to the classroom. Give all students a safe environment to learn and grow. I acknowledge the time, financial resources, and study that are needed to make a successful program. That being said, establishing a plan to address behavioral issues is not a long-range need, but a very present need, and steps need to be taken now to be in place for the upcoming school year. This issue cannot continue to be tabled, and funding needs to be brought forward for staff training, resources, and building renovations. I strongly urge FPS to take a forward-thinking approach to the area of mental health in young students. Be a leader in supporting behavioral challenges and continue to provide the best education for all students in the Fargo Public Schools. Thank you for your time.
All right, Brenna, I believe, or Brenda, and Ashley, but there's an arrow, so one person, I think, was saying they were. Okay. Okay, whoever wants to go first, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, Ashley Hofdahl, 315 7th Street South. I came up here today to talk about the Agassiz program. I spoke at the last board meeting as well. It's not a secret how we in the parent group feel and think about this proposal. And so I'm not going to take up a lot of time talking about those things tonight. We have plenty of other people who are going to bring some of that to the table. I do tend to speak from the heart, and what I want to bring to the table tonight and talk about is a big deal. It's about trust. Like most, if not all parents, we bring our kids to school every day. We trust that educators are going to educate and teach our kids, that they'll have some fun learning, that they'll make some friends, and that they'll be in a safe environment. We trust that people in the school settings have our children's best interest in mind and that they will do the best to accommodate our children who do have special needs. We trust that the people sitting at the table at IEP meetings will make decisions that are best for our children, make suggestions based on their expertise, and implement strategies in order for our children to be the most successful in their home schools with their peers. I have trusted all of these people at the table, and I have been at these tables for 3 years. I have trusted that my child was getting the best services and he was getting the help that he needed. I trusted that his IEP plans were being implemented like we talked about in the meetings. And that he was being treated fairly based on his disability, just like we should all be able to trust that that is what is happening. We should be able to have that relationship, parents, educators, children. I don't feel that trust anymore, and I know many other parents that are here today don't either. We can't trust a system where our children are being left behind, where we have to seek outside resources for people to come in and help advocate for our kids because we don't feel like we're being heard. Or where school administration is trying to push our kids to the side into a building with an ill-thought-out plan that lacks proper guidelines, curriculum, inclusion, resources, and I could go on and on. We need a seat at the table in this decision. We know our kids best. We know strategies that work with them, and we need to be involved in these decisions. And as parents, we need trust. We need that trust because we are trusting you with our most precious gifts in life, our kids. And, we trust you with our children every day. Please consider the gravity of that trust. Please revote, rescind, and then let's rethink this decision and have a better plan. Thank you.
All right, Brenda, thank you.
Come up after the tall one. My name is Brenda Reel, and I'm a disability advocate with the North Dakota Protection and Advocacy Project. We are an entity by statute that protects the rights of people with disabilities in North Dakota. So I want to talk about numbers. And they're not in order, so I wasn't that bad of a math student. Okay, Fargo 8, West Fargo 2 to 3, rural Cass 1 to 2. That equals 11 to 13 students who need level D services. Why build a school for 64 students? Data that was collected on a report that was given to the board members regarding staff injuries, assaults, calls to police, and SROs was presented to you to gain your support and votes for the separate school project for K through 5th grade. The data you received was for K through 8th grade. Why wasn't the K through 5th data segregated out since K through 5 is what you're looking at? So why include the 6th through 8th data? 5, that's the number of little boys in Agassiz. Whether you call their placement in that building as a level D service or pilot project, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's still where 5 little boys have been placed due to challenging behaviors and needs requiring specialized services. Not only are these children not receiving specialized services, they are not receiving the services set forth in their IEPs, which they previously received in their other schools. No data on behavior plans is being obtained because the plans aren't being followed. And there's no progress reports on goals as set forth in their IEPs because their IEPs aren't being followed. Behavior data and progress reporting on goals does not require a Karner Blue design building. It doesn't even require specialized staff. 5, that's the number of children being denied FAPE at Agassiz. 6. In 1980, the ARC and 6 parents filed a class action lawsuit in North Dakota due to the conditions of the 2 state institutions responsible for the care, treatment, and education of people with disabilities. 2 of the named defendants in this case were the superintendent of the Department of Public Instruction and the state director of special education. Because children with disabilities were not receiving education in the least restrictive environment in their home schools. In fact, they generally weren't receiving education in their home schools. Cass County ARC was extremely involved in this case, and one of the named plaintiffs, one of the 6, was a child from Fargo. That case has been upheld 3 times by appellate courts and is the most cited case from the state of North Dakota. IDEA was upheld in that case, actually it was 94-142 back then, and IDEA still requires children to receive services in schools where there are same-age peers and children without disabilities. The last number I have is 200. That's the growing number of parents who are advocating for their children and for all children with disabilities who require special education services. 200 parents who will continue to fight for their children's rights for pre-appropriate public education. I ask that this board rescind this project and go back to the drawing board. Do not put it aside and study it behind closed doors at a retreat. Invite parents and advocates and others to study this with you in an advisory group. Let your new superintendent join the conversation. Embrace those 200 parents who can not only take this journey with you, but assist you in other ways. They can help advocate for what this school district needs. Rescind the project. Let everyone on both sides reset and heal and think about ways to work together. Let's restart the process of addressing the special ed needs of these students, safety of the staff and of the children. And do not ever think that parents and advocates do not want teaching staff and school personnel to be safe, because we do. We want our children to be safe, and we want the staff to be safe. There is a way to address and resolve the agreed upon needs. It's collaboration with the parents and the community in a transparent way that allows for the mutual exchange of ideas and sharing the workload. It's not to study it behind closed doors, away from public view. I know you can do that as a board, but my grandmother always said, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. We're moving on to staff reports. The first item is an FEA report. Laura, I'm turning it over to you, although I know you said that you don't plan anything.
Hi. I'm good, thanks.
She said her report was included in the special recognition, the years of service. So we added item B onto staff reports, and I will turn this over to Dr. Schatz, please.
Thank you. As you know, Anne Marie Campbell and her team work every day to try to promote the Fargo Public Schools, to do our internal and external communications. And you were given a sheet at your desk tonight to show you how they've done this past year. You will see that they were winners of many different awards. They were National Federation Press Women Communications Contest First Place Reports, Fargo Public Schools Annual Report. That's a national award. National Federation of Press Women Communications Contest First Place, Audio Visuals. The Fargo Public Schools Overview Video that we used for the mill levy. The National Federation of Press Women Communications Contest First Place, Nonprofit Government or Educational Brochures for the HR department's brochure that we have. And so those are all national awards that they have received from that organization. There are a number of other awards that they have received, and I'm not going to go through all of them. You have them in front of you. But I think this is a testament to the quality of work, the professional work that you see every day that comes out of their office. And it is quite impressive, the number of awards that they have been awarded for the work that they have done. And so we wanted to make mention of that tonight. You have it in front of you, and I have done so. And unfortunately, Anne Marie is not here tonight, so we can't thank her personally, but I've already done that. And if you want to send her a note, that might be a good idea. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schatz. I also wanted to confirm, Dinah and Brandy, are you both on the phone? They're,
This is Dinah, I'm here.
all right. And I know Brandy was not feeling well, but hoping to join us, so hopefully she's there as well.
I'm here also.
Oh,
This
she's
is
there.
Brandy.
Okay, awesome. Good, good. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? All right, motion passes. Moving on to business, setting D update, memo 126. Dr. Schatz, do you want to speak to this?
I think the memo is very self-explanatory. After much input and much thought into this, and all of the parents that are represented here tonight, I will tell you that there has never been any kind of malicious intent by administration to study this issue. We were asked by the board over a year and a half ago to study this issue. This was a very debated negotiations topic last year in which administration was vilified for not doing anything about the issues that have occurred. We have received all sorts of comments that have been what I would consider very unprofessional. And we have just tried to come to work and do the best that we can with what we have to provide all children an experience in our schools that's fair, appropriate, and that has always been our intent. And so having thought of all of those things, I went to Rebecca Knutson, our president, and I said, stop this process. And so I'm in favor of that. This memo outlines that, and it is now before the board. I really don't have any other comment.
All right, is there a motion? Jim?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we direct our administration to put on hold the securing of bids for the remodeling of the Setting D facility and put it on the agenda for our summer retreat as a topic for further exploration by the board.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there discussion on this? No discussion? All right, Jolynn, would you please call the roll?
Rodenbacher,
Yes.
Ulrich,
Yes.
Ani,
Yes.
Benson. Yes. Boyd,
Yes.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes. Motion passes. On to our operational plan for 2017-16, memo 124. Dr. Schatz, are you bringing this forward as well?
Yes, thank you. And as we do every year, we have our operational plan. We present it to you in the fall. You approve that, and then that is the bulk of the work that we focus on, aligned to our strategic plan. What we present to you tonight is the work that's been accomplished over the past year. This is also aligned to our advanced ed standards, our strategic plan, and each of the departments have reported to you where they have landed at the end of this year. I'm asking that you approve this operational plan with the caveat that, again, with a lot of the things that have come at us this year, there's been added things that you don't see in this operational plan that have consumed a great amount of time by the cabinet and other administrators in our district. And so I would say that, again, the work is full, it is busy, it is tiring, and I think we did a pretty darn good job with the operational plan as we had presented it in the fall in making those things happen. So I'd ask for approval of this plan. Thank you.
And is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
There's been a motion by Christie. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Christie, second by John. Any conversation? Linda?
I'd just like to commend Dr. Schatz and the cabinet and the entire staff of Fargo Public Schools for all your good work. We truly appreciate it.
Any other discussion?
Rebecca, Dinah here.
Yes, Dinah.
I ditto what Linda said, but I just had one question. The safety and risk management position, have we actually hired someone for that yet? It said that in the operational plan that it was closed. The interview process was closed. So I was just curious if we got someone for that yet.
Dr. Schatz?
Interviews are tomorrow. We have 4 individuals who have been selected for interviews. I think we have very highly qualified applicants. We had, I believe it was almost 20 applicants, close to that. And we're looking forward to those conversations tomorrow. Our plan is to have somebody on board probably by the next board meeting where their work would start July 1st. And they can then get busy doing the things that they'll need to do to oversee all of the security management type systems within our school district. So more to come with regard to who we hire, and we will let you know when that happens.
Any
Thank
other
you.
discussion? All right, Jolene?
Ulrich,
Yes.
Ani,
Yes.
Benson,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rodenbiker,
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes. Motion passes. Discovery bid package memo 125. Jackie Gap, Dr. Schatz?
Okay, I'll take it. What you have before you is the Discovery Bid Package number 2, as promised. And I have Jim Free here tonight if anybody has any questions. One of the things that Jim and I talked about is we gave you kind of a midterm report on estimates. And so there was the first estimates that came out, and we were talking 16 million for the whole project. And then we came in and said, it's looking really good. We think it's going to be under 14 million, maybe even around 12. Bids were opened, and in some of the cases, some of the estimates were a little bit low. In other cases, some were a little bit high. But when it's all shaken out, in the end, we're very close to that 14 million. So it's no surprise to us as to where it landed. What we're asking is for your approval tonight of those bids so that we can continue and move forward with the rest of the work at Discovery. If you remember, the phase 1 was to get all the ground preparation there and ready to go so that we could start, building onto those things. So if you have any questions, Jim's here and he could certainly clarify anything for anybody.
Does anyone have any questions for Jim? Okay, John?
Do we need a motion?
We could have a motion.
I would move we approve the base bid awards and alternates 1, 2, and 4 for the Discovery Middle School addition and remodel in the amount of $11,002,968.85 and direct administration to award the contracts.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, now we could ask questions. John?
Could you, I couldn't, I had trouble understanding the bid tab in here. What are the base bids and what are the alternates 1, 2, and 4? Could you clarify that, please?
Alternate 1 is wireless switching for the new LED lighting that's going to go into school versus hardwired. It was suggested to us that it possibly might be cheaper and quicker to install if we did the wireless, but it turned out to be actually $81,000 more to go with wireless. So we are suggesting that we go ahead and go with the wired like it is now. So that's a savings item. And the other number, what did you say, what number?
Number 2 and number 4. 2,
when we got into the building, we realized that one of the classrooms, they're really stressed and overoccupied in the fax area. So one of the classrooms, as I was talking to Mr. Williams, let's take an alternate bid to see what it would cost to convert that room to an additional fax because there's so many participants in that program. And you'll see that number there was 42,000, I believe, for that. So that's what it takes to put the cabinetry in and get it prepared to operate as a fax.
And when you say fax, you mean Family and Consumer Science, not the old
Science.
telephone
No.
image system. Okay.
You are correct. That's right. Okay. And then the 5, did you say, the other one? 4? Bleachers. The bleachers in the gym are the old wooden style, and they sort of, when you walk on them, they shimmy. And we're just thinking it's an opportune time to update that. It's probably the cheapest that we're going to get them installed and purchased, so we included that as part of the alternates. Sure.
David?
Madam President, Jim, I see that there was no bid opened for insulation. That would seem pretty important. Do you not open bids if there aren't at least 2 bids?
We had 10 bids that were not able to be opened according to North Dakota Century Code. There's very, specific directions. If it has to have 2 envelopes, the bid bond and the contractor's license has to be opened first. And if those don't meet the qualifications, if they don't have a valid contractor's license, or they don't have a bid bond for 5% of their bid, we cannot even legally open up the bid. So there was 10 different packages that had that, and 1 or 2 of the people that had bids there for insulation had that situation where they threw it all in one envelope, and we're not able to open that legally. So.
Just to follow up, since there were no bids accepted, then will you rebid for insulation?
Yes, they're in the process right now of securing estimates for that, and we'll bring that forward at a later time. They're very low, small estimate numbers, so we felt like we should get rolling on this, and insulation won't be for a while yet, so we'll get that rolling. And so.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Jolyn?
Ani?
Yes.
Benson?
Yes.
Boyd?
Yes.
Goldenberg?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Paulson?
Yes.
Rodenbacher?
Yes.
Ulrich?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes, motion passes. Communications Committee recommendations, memo 119. Dinah, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, sorry, I apologize that I'm not there, but of course we pushed this off last time, and unfortunately Anne Marie's not there either to sort of follow up. But as you know, we've discussed this on and off over the course of this past year and even before. But to bring it to condense it, when the Communication Committee was started many moons ago, I think probably Jim and I were the only ones on the board in the early stages, we didn't have a real communications staff in the district. The board really did advise the 1 or 2 people who were doing communication pieces for us at that time. But over the years, we have evolved into having a very sophisticated communication team. Just Dr. Schatz highlighted that at the beginning of the meeting with Anne Marie and her team and all of their awards. So we don't need to advise the communication in the same way. We also used to organize what is now turned into routine board professional development with our liaisons to all of the various committees and to the schools and our activities. And now, the last couple of years, and certainly this year, it's often a make-work project. And I know that some people feel that we should keep the communication committee open. The committee voted to bring it to the board, or at least consensus of the committee was to bring it to the board with a recommendation that we dissolve the communications committee as it exists right now and give the opportunity to our new superintendent and our new board in July to perhaps recreate, reestablish outlines, guidelines for a communication or other titled committee that serves the purposes more directly. If we don't dissolve the committee as it stands now, then it will stand again for another year until this comes up on the usual review cycle, unless, of course, the board brings it forward. I'm not sure of the exact rules, but that was our understanding, that if we didn't bring it forward now for possible dissolution, then you'd be in the same boat a year from now and have to operate under the same guidelines for next year. So with that being said, as chair of the communications committee, I move that we remove the communications committee from GP7 as a board standing committee.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any conversation? John?
I am concerned about this. I think, I definitely acknowledge that Anne Marie is doing outstanding work in her team and the administration. I worry about the message that the board dissolving this committee at this point sends to our community. And looking at GP 7, I think the purpose and the means that it outlines are still very necessary and still speak to what we should be doing as a board. I guess those are my thoughts on this. Thank you.
Christy?
I would agree that Anne Marie and her team does a phenomenal job with communications. However, when you look at GP7 and you read the purpose is to increase the board's transparency of decision-making and communication capacity, I feel strongly this past year as a board, we have stepped into the weeds and we have not been a governance committee or a governance board as much as we should be. And I think in the communications area is an opportunity for us to be more transparent. And as a full board, we can step back and be more governance. And so I think it's important for us to keep this committee. We only have to meet quarterly. And in light of a PR look right now from a standpoint of PR, and we had a room full of people, and we need to be aware of that. And I would agree with John, if we dissolve a communications committee at this time, what message are we sending in regards to transparency? I also believe transparency needs to work on both sides. And we need to openly communicate with our community in the right way. And I think as board members, we can take guidance from our communications team in the best way possible.
Any other conversation? Jennifer?
I'm not sure that I have anything to add other than to say I completely agree with John and Christy. I think that this is sending the wrong message. So I will be voting against the recommendation.
Linda?
I would just like to remind board members that any communication that we do as board members needs to follow our policies, GPs.
I serve on the communications committee, and there were a majority of us that agreed, but not everyone agreed to bring it forth. So it was brought forth. And I was one that was a little anxious, I guess, about bringing it forth. As a communications professional, I had a hard time saying that we don't need a communications committee. And I would say not only, but especially since the communications committee met last and the conversations that we have had regarding some of the needs in our district, it reinforces to me. I feel that it is a committee that is needed, and my preference would be to reevaluate as our new superintendent comes on, and as whoever our board members end up being, that decisions get made at that point in regard to looking at the policy and how that committee follows that policy if we decide to keep the committee. Any other conversation? David?
I agree. I don't think this is a proper time to be dissolving this committee. I will not vote for that.
Rebecca?
Yes, Dinah?
Could I just point out that this conversation took place 3 or 4 months ago, too, and it's been, we haven't had good attendance at our meetings, and I don't mean the board meetings, I mean our communications committee meeting. So some of this discussion was, several months old. So situations do change in time, so. Yes. I did bring it forward, though, as directed.
Yes, absolutely, Dinah, thank you. Okay, any other conversation? Jim?
Well, I understand the concern of theoretically dissolving a communication committee. especially when the world is asking us to be more transparent, although I'll be real honest, I have no clue how you do that. All the board meetings are publicly broadcast, all of our committee meetings are open, and that's really where the board does its work. I think at a minimum, what we need to do is really sit down as a board and figure out what is the purpose of this committee going forward? Because the purpose itself sounds pretty good. The means really are a disconnect that were written about a decade ago and really don't come to play in my mind. So regardless of whether or not we think we should dissolve the committee or not, I think the committee's means have to really be looked at, analyzed, and maybe re-engineered to make this committee more valuable to the board as we move forward if we're going to keep it. I'd be hesitant to think that we just want to say, nope, we like the communication committee the way it's been working, because quite frankly, it hasn't been working effectively. And that's not the fault of Dinah or anybody that served on it. It's the task it's given, which no longer is the right task. So, you know, if we're not going to dissolve it, I think at a minimum, we as a board, and maybe this should be another retreat topic, need to really determine what do we want the purpose of the communication committee to be, and how does it then interface with the communication staff that is full-time in the district. So there's some clarity to whoever's on this committee going forward, and hopefully some good value from it.
All right, thank you, everyone. Jolynn?
Benson?
No.
Boyd?
Yes.
Goldenberg?
Yes.
Johnson?
No.
Paulson?
No.
Rodenbacher?
No.
Ulrich?
No.
Ani?
No.
Knutson?
No. Motion fails. All right, moving on to Board Outside Liaison Assignment Review, Memo 120. Does anyone have any, yes,
I have a motion.
Linda has a comment or a motion, thank you. Linda would like to speak.
Yes, thank you. I understand that there's no formal action that needs to be taken. I would move to receive and file this, but also to apologize that I did not get this in, but to just mention that the Community Development Committee of the city is certainly worthy of continuation of our participation.
All right, there's been a motion by Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any conversation on this? All right, Jolynn?
Boyd?
Yes.
Goldenberg?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Paulson?
Yes.
Rodenbacher?
Yes.
Ulrich?
Yes.
Ani?
Yes.
Benson?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes, motion passes. All right, that concludes the business of the meeting. Moving on to board reports, school liaison visits, memo 121. This is also for information only. Does anyone have anything they would like to bring up at this point on this regard? My understanding is that if there is anything that the board would like to have addressed regarding this liaison school visit report, and then also the one in regard to the outside liaisons, is that would go to governance for further conversations or discussion. Is there anything to be brought forth? John?
I was unfortunately unable to attend the retirement celebration at Ben Franklin Middle School, my liaison assignment this year, and I just wanted to recognize Mr. Nelson for his long service to our district and the great job he's done at Ben Franklin.
All right, thank you, John. Anyone else? All right, then we will file this report. Thank you. And on to committee liaison and correspondence reports. John, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Negotiations met with the FEA back on the 16th, and we'll be meeting with them again tomorrow evening. 4 o'clock right here.
All right. Brandy, how are you doing? Are you able to give a report?
No, I don't have anything for you guys, sorry.
That's all right. How about Dinah?
Yeah, sorry, we've not done this for the last couple of meetings, so I wanted to report that I was at the Board of Health, whatever, and in addition to myself retiring from the Board of Health, the Executive Director, Ruth, is retiring, as well as Dr. Baird, so that'll be a little bit of a change, public health come fall. I've also attended the Support Staff Teacher and Administrator of the Year surprises, which I highly recommend that some of you try and do in future. It's really a fun thing to do. I've been to several retirement celebrations, and I was at the Woodrow Wilson Accolades program last week, which is also an outstanding event that honors kids at Woodrow who have achieved almost perfect attendance and things of that sort, and it's for kids all the way through, not just the seniors, sort of their version of the award ceremony that the other high schools do. I was at North, and a couple of chamber and so on events. Oh, and one other really great thing was the pay event, the Philanthropy and Youth, that I was also attended. So that's just a highlight of what I've done in the last few weeks.
Thank you, Dinah. Jennifer?
Health Insurance Committee meeting was rescheduled until June, so I have nothing further to report there.
Christy?
I went to the Discovery Art and Music at Trollwood. I went to the Philanthropy and Youth that was held at Oak Grove, Chamber Choice Awards. Tomorrow morning I'll be attending the Davies Academic and Scholarship Breakfast. And then I just have one other concern. The mission of FPS is educating and empowering all students to succeed. And that goes from special ed to AP kids and everybody in between. And in light of the last couple of weeks in particular, it seems to be a battle. And as we talk about things, I'm comfortable that we are moving the setting D to the retreat, to the long-range facility plan, and slowing it down, moving it to a task force, to the long-range facility planning task force. But then I believe that what we need to do as a board is to, once that recommendation comes forth from the task force, I think it's really important for us as a board to step back once we decide on what we're going to approve and move forward. And then we need to let the administration do their job. I think in the past, we hear about it when we read the notes that have been said, and they feel that the school is shaky. That disturbs me because I feel that we have an administration that has done an excellent job, and I have great trust in our administration. And so we need to make sure that we are allowing our administration to do their job and not micromanage them. We have a new superintendent that is coming on board, and he's going to have a lot on his plate. We need to let him do his job. He's got staff that will surround him. We've got a superintendent that's leaving who's done an excellent job. And it is not our job as a board. We're a governance board, not an operational board. And I've served on both types. And this past year has been very difficult because we have gotten in the weeds. And I've seen it time and time again. And it's very challenging.
Thank you, Christy. David?
I don't think I have anything to report other than the involvement in negotiations, and hopefully we're heading in a better direction.
Linda?
Thank you. Community Development Committee met last week. It's working on final adjustments to some of the social needs disbursements. One special request came to the committee from Global Youth Soccer, which is a volunteer-run group that works with New American Kids, and they were seeking some funding, but also had some organizational challenges. So our former board member and now chair of that committee, John Strand, and I kind of convened a separate meeting and brought folks together from the school district and parks and so forth. And I just want to express my appreciation to the Todd Olson and the folks at the school district that are helping to do it, what they can to make that successful. And it looks like we'll be collaborating with another former board member, Robin Nelson at the Boys and Girls Club, to help make this happen. So that was just kind of an inspirational collaboration in motion. So, thank you.
Jim?
The SEEC had a board meeting since we last met. Did our evaluation of our exec director, and which came out pretty good. Talked a little bit about some things we can do differently in communicating, in particular, assuming Kyle goes back out to Bismarck for the legislative session, really making sure all the member schools know who does what at the SEEC while he's out of pocket and in Bismarck. I have been involved in a number of different, for lack of knowing what to call them all, task force advisory committee calls. I think you're all aware of the fact the governor has a major task force going on innovation in K-12 education. They have several splinter questions with advisory committees, and everybody is supposed to have everything done right about the time we hand out diplomas. So it is just a mad scramble right now. I think I have 3 more of these scheduled in the next 10 days. I don't think anybody here is probably planning on going out for it, but not only do we have graduations happening here in Fargo and throughout the state, but I'm happy to tell you, I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20 business managers who are going to graduate from the Business Manager Certification Program through the North Dakota School Boards Association. So that's kind of an exciting number. Obviously, more mid to little-sized districts really avail themselves of that program, although we've had some larger school districts send their business manager through it as well. And I can't echo loud enough Christie's comments, and I want to thank you for them.
All right, thank you. I have handed out the president's report. Let's see, I want to tell you a few things that I've been doing. I did attend the Setting D meeting with the parent group that was at Prairie Roots Food Co-op. And I was at Ben Franklin for the retirement party. It was very, very warm in that cafeteria. The ice cream was melting. Anyway, it was nice to visit with everyone there. And it was really fun to see the families come in support of those retirees. I was at the North High Academics Awards breakfast, and I will be going to the event that Christy mentioned at Davies in regard to their awards, and then the GED graduation coming up in a couple of days. So that's my report. Anyone have anything else to add? Christy?
I also will be going to the Career and Tech Ed Conference, the Western Pathways. I leave on Tuesday, the 29th, and come back on June 1st. So I'll report back after I'm returned.
Perfect. All right. We have number 9 on our agenda as the possible need for an executive session. Is that needed? John?
Yes, President Knudsen, I would move we enter executive session for the purpose of negotiation strategy as permitted under North Dakota Century Code, Section 44-04-19.1.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Clear the room, please. Yes, 5-minute break? like to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Education. It is 7:16 PM. Thank you for coming.